day 25 of my 20-day water fast. So it's a big number, 25 days, not eating any food. It's been quite the journey. You might see my cat here. He was very insistent. He was kind of scratching at me and stuff. So I finally just said, okay, fine. You could sit here and look out the window and you'll be my little guest host. So anyways, well, I'll go back to just starting with the numbers. Let's see. So yeah, got up at 7:30. pH was 6. So that was, let me see. Yeah, 6, yeah. So yeah, it's been, the pH has finally starting to stabilize back at 6. So that's an interesting sign. For the longest time I was staying below 6, and now I hit 6, and now I've been staying at 6 for the past couple of days. So, so that's a good sign. Again, neutral is 7. So ideally I'll get my body up to close to around 7 at some point. Once I have I'm sure it'll just take a few more days. But maybe by day 30 it's gonna go up, but it seems like it's taken a while just for it to get back up to 6 to only go a quarter of a point. So I'm not expecting too much of a shift in that in just another 5 days. Maybe it'll move up to 6.25 or something. I think this is a longer term thing. My weight dropped back down. It went down to 179.3. And so, because before it was 181.6. And then, so I officially under the 180 mark. So that was a big milestone moment for me. I have not been under 180 pounds in, I don't even remember how long. It's been many years. 2012, I think, was the last time. 2012, 2013 was the last time I was under 180 pounds. And that was for just a brief period of time, because I didn't know all the stuff I know now in terms of all the diet and the latest findings. But this time I'm armed with a lot more knowledge and determination, that I've seen what's possible, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to go backwards right now. It's just like forward, full steam ahead. Let's see the other numbers. Yeah, again, 3 liters plus. Most of that was the regular filtered water. Had a little bit of sparkling mineral water, but this time only kept it to like maybe 2 cans the whole day. Went to the bathroom around 6 times, give or take. That seems pretty consistent. The water pH was 9.33, TDS 95, EC 190. The day was, woke up, meditated, recorded the last video from the day before. Recorded day 24, the morning of, recorded the morning. And then, let's see, what else did I do? I went to Target, was looking around at the food section aisle, just curious, because I'm just like taking my time to like look at labels and like look at milk products, because I'm looking for the milk that has the casein A2 milk protein and not the casein A1, which pretty much 95% of all of them out there have casein A1, including a lot of the the protein powders, derived protein powders, are all based from the casein, the cows that produce the casein A1. So it's like, I'm just, just like, my mind is just like, oh my God, like, as I'm like looking down the aisles, I'm just like, most of this stuff is contaminated. Most of this stuff is detrimental to most people's health. And, it's like, the more people are trying to get healthy, a lot of them are getting more unhealthy, or just, they kind of get healthier, but they never actually really get totally healthy. They're still dealing with different things. And so it's really interesting, just, having my eyes opened. It's like, Neo in the Matrix, and I'm looking around, I just see the Matrix code everywhere. I just see I'm like, man, it's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's all, full of what? It's all full of lectins. It's all full of all these plant toxins and all these different processed things that are just screwing with us. And I'm just like, man, it's messed up. Everything's screwed up, and it made me think. I was like, man, this is like, something's ripe for disruption here. Like, it's feeling ripe for disruption. So I'm just like, because all of this effort into trying to make us healthy, and yet when you actually look at the results, we're more unhealthy than ever. I mean, back when we didn't have all of this big health craze, people were way healthier. And now that we have this health craze, people are the most unhealthy and most obese, record obesity rates, record disease rates. And yet we have this huge health, like, it doesn't add up. So therefore, most of what is being taught for health and nutrition has to be wrong then. That's the only explanation. Most of the food industry, most of what what is out there has to be wrong, because if it was right, we would be healthier than ever. We would have less disease than ever. And we don't. So therefore, logic says it has to be that we're doing things wrong. And that's what I'm realizing. And after, the latest thing, with like the plant paradox, it's like, yeah, my eyes have been opened to what, and it's the first time in my life where I like, oh, now it finally makes sense. All the other stuff before, a lot of the calorie counting and all the diet and the talk about, oh, like, you got to eat less, and then, but then, you got to keep your metabolism a certain rate. And like, there were so many things that, inevitably you'd find a contradiction in what they're teaching. They're like, yeah, but what about this? And they go, and it was always left. Eventually you'd always come to situations where it was vague and unclear, and then they contradicted themselves at some point. But this is the first time where it's suddenly all the pieces, it finally makes sense, and it finally adds up. The equation actually adds up now for me. And that's such a huge relief, and is now maybe like have a very clear direction now. Like, I'm like, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to do in order to attain optimal health and longevity. And it's no longer mysterious. It's no longer having this super mysterious feel to it that it has been for all my life, and I'm sure for most people who are in health and nutrition, it's just so much confusion. And the other thing, relief, is that I realize now that pretty much most health nutrition books out there are invalid and obsolete after what I've been learning, because they don't contain this latest findings, and they're based on the calorie model of nutrition. By default, it's invalidated. Like, and that's also freeing for me, so I won't even waste any time reading some of these other books, because I know it's invalidated, because it's like they are trying to teach from an incomplete picture. They have major holes in their model, and so and these are pretty damn major holes. So because of such major holes, their model is invalidated, So therefore, pretty much most health books, I won't even waste my time reading. And that's also a relief, because I was thinking, oh man, there's so many things I still got to study. But now there's just a handful of books that I'm even willing to read now, because pretty much most of them I know is going to be crap. You know, I mean, they're probably well written, but they're, you know, I know that they're going to lead me down, you know, they're just going to lead people down the wrong path because they're incomplete and they're missing huge pieces of the puzzle. So I definitely want to spread that. And so one of the things that I really want to do is to create something. So I probably should hold off right now. I'm not going to say exactly what I'm planning on doing, but I definitely had some thoughts about wanting to create some business, you know, do something really big that could generate, you know, tremendous amount of wealth. But I realized, you know, I finally have accepted, it's like, unless I love doing it, I'm not going to get through the hard times, because there's always going to be hard times and difficulties and major challenges, you know, growing a business, a company, and starting a company for the purpose of making a lot of money inevitably will probably fail, you know, or it will never get anywhere near as big as it possibly could be, you know, or I'll just stop prematurely because I made enough money with it, I can stop now. As opposed to something where I love it, why would I want to stop? I want to just keep going and keep growing. So for those reasons alone, it's in that, walking down those aisles in Target, I suddenly had this epiphany moment, and then a flood of visions of like this huge like 10, 20-year vision plan just started streaming into my consciousness. And it was like, wow, I never considered getting involved with something like this, like having this, you know, something related to the food industry. But then I was like, well, the food industry is huge. So it's like, you know, there's plenty of people who have become billionaires in the food industry. So, you know, companies. And so it's like, you know, like Tillman Fertitta, you know, like he's, you know, made all these restaurant chains and, you know, all this Golden Nugget Casino and all that stuff. But definitely the food was definitely his number one area that, you know, he made billions on. So, you know, so I'm just like, maybe that's that. I'm like, you know what? I think that is, because it's like, it's a personal passion for mine also, because I've struggled with it. I both love and struggle with it. And so after everything I've learned recently and what I'm going to be implementing, it's made me go, you know what? I could totally see myself dedicating my life. Ow, stop. Dedicating my life to creating something really huge that could make a really huge impact in, you know, to millions of people's lives, you know, in a very positive way, and helping to change their, you know, give them a new possibilities of what to eat, and how they can overcome their current ailments, you know, and overcome their diseases, you know, through food, you know, through the proper food, and not through what's been up until now has been the advice given up until now has been wrong, basically. They've been misled. They've been misled by the, you know, all the food, most of the food manufacturers have misled them, pharmaceuticals have misled them, their doctors have misled them. You know, American Heart Association is like oh my God, it is like that organization is the most corrupt corrupt organization. That anything that's heart healthy, you might as well put a skull and crossbones on it. That's probably more accurate. Like Fruit Loops has a American Heart Association approval on it. It's like freaking candy, just lectin filled candy, super inflammation, diabetes, heart disease riddled product, and it's like, that's proof alone that they're a completely corrupt organization. All they care about is receiving they put their stamp of approval on whoever lines their pockets. It's just pathetic, so I despise that organization. I would love to have that organization destroyed. I mean, disbanded. It needs to be they need to, their ideology, their ideology, they're so fixated on the ideologies they have, and they're so corrupted by the funds that they get from the other food manufacturers and I'm assuming like different pharmaceuticals and things like that, that they are not an authority whatsoever. And anything they say, you should probably do the opposite. That's what I believe now. And that's what I just know. It's ridiculous. And, all these companies like Kellogg's and things like that, they have contributed to so much obesity and disease in this country that it's despicable. And the thing is, the truth is, a lot of this information was out there like 50 plus years ago. I'm learning, like, they discovered a lot of this stuff over 50 years ago, like the things with the lectins and the inflammation causing properties of wheat and corn and soy and all that, and how, and they've known this for decades, and yet they continued to create these products that they knew would cause disease and illness, and then got a corrupt organization, the Heart, American Health Organization, ACA to, I'm thinking of some other organization, not ACA. American Heart Association, to put their stamp approval by just paying them off. I mean, it's so corrupt. It's like, it's sickening. I'm getting sick the more I learn about this stuff, and the more I'm just like, I would love to devote my life to create, to building up something huge, some huge freaking, make like the Tesla of food, the Tesla of the food industry, where they just own every layer of the process, everything from manufacturing to distribution to education, to, all of these other supplemental symbiotic components that all interrelate with each other. But because it's all owned under the same, they're all kind of controlled under the same conglomerate, they all share, they're able to share information very, efficiently, and just consolidation at every point, and then integrate, have it a technology first company, and just how Tesla now is just completely just clobbering the other automakers. I would love to, I could totally see that there's an opportunity to create something new that will just clobber all of the old existing food manufacturing brands that they're primarily producing boxes of disease and ill health for people. And they need to be taken down. And that's what I see, that's the only, people may or may not like Trump, but it's like, at least that statement, "Make America Great Again." I'm thinking let's make America healthy again, for real, and not fake health, but real health. Because right now it's insane. And so there's this huge epidemic, and it's only getting worse. And it's just no one seems to really be doing anything about it. I mean, they're kind of doing something about it, but until they're not actually getting to the source of the problems, which, like, after I'm learning the source of the problems, it's very clear and very apparent that when you go into all the stores, there's virtually nobody that's addressing the source problems. Virtually none. You know, I want to start creating things where everything we produce is addressing the source problems. You know, everything we talk about is about addressing the source problems. You know, until they address the source problems, everything, whatever they do is basically worthless. You know, it's like, oh, we'll keep like giving you antioxidants. Well, why don't you just stop putting in the things that create the inflammation to freaking to begin with, and then you don't even have to care about an antioxidants. How about that? It's like, duh, and yet no one stops to think about that. And I'm just like, Jesus, you know? So as you could tell, I'm getting more impassioned about this. And so that's why I'm seeing that, you know what, I believe now that this is what I need to be doing. This is what I'm going to need to pursue moving forward. And so I've got some initial product idea that I'm going to start working on that won't cost me much money to make some samples. And it's something that, you know, I would really enjoy, and that I want to see how I can make something that is just as good as some regular version of it that's full of fat producing and inflammation increasing, you know, lectin content and other toxins, and replace it with something that's free of all of the, you know, free of all lectin content, free of any proteins that cause inflammation, and encouraging fat storage, and, you know, create some product that is free of all of that and tastes just as good as the one that is the bad one, and then see, you know, and then do some tests to see, it's like, hey, you're able to eat this, and like, you don't really gain any, you know, you don't gain any weight, you know, whereas this one, you eat it, you gain weight. This one, you don't gain weight, and they're basically, you know, and they end up being about the same calories too, you know, like, so low fat is out. I don't care about low fat. High fat, that's where it's at. So, you know, or at least normal fat. I'm not going to like go crazy on it, but, you know, I'm not going to care about that anymore. Like, I realize that's not hot. You need to eat more fat. That's what I've realized. Fat is good. It's all the other shit that you get that screws you up. Screws up your hormones and your insulin levels. So yeah, so it's just like, yeah, it's like I've definitely had this eye-opening experience, and so now I have this whole new vision for myself and my life, and again, you know, that's another, going back to the water fast, like that's one of the things, in like, you know, they talk about on a vision quest, you know, and I'd really see that doing fasting aids in helping to facilitate a vision, you know, a new vision for your future, because it's just like when your mind gets purified, you know, your whole body gets purified, your mind gets purified, things get repaired and restored. Suddenly your brain is operating at this very high efficient level that suddenly you become receptive to new visions, new levels of consciousness, and your perceptions become opened. And that's what I definitely experienced the other day. This vision, you know, this huge vision. And the thing is, you know, and each passing hour, I kept getting more pieces just kept coming at me, and it was like all these building blocks. It just kept stacking, and like creating this huge thing. And I was just like, wow, that, if, you know, created that, like that has the potential to turn the tide of the obesity crisis in America, and around the world for that matter, and it could just completely turn things around and save the medical industry too, because so most of the people going to the hospital are people who are sick from food derived illnesses. Everyone thinks it's just genetic and all this stuff. I don't buy it anymore. I don't buy any of the genetic crap. You're genetically predisposed, but you still have to have something to trigger those genes, which is the foods that you eat. So if you eat the food, if you eat the right foods and avoid the wrong ones, then those whatever genes that you may be a little more predisposed, they're not going to get activated, and you're not going to have the damn disease. I mean, it's simple as that. You don't just automatically go into a disease state without something triggering the disease state. Because the body wants to be healthy. The body will return to health on its own if you remove the obstructions to it. And we have a hell of a lot of obstructions to our health in our current society. So, I think, there needs to be, there's a few small independent people that are, giving talks and, having some, information content and some programs and, providing some supplementation, and here, follow this diet kind of stuff. But I realize it's not enough. It needs to go mainstream. It needs to be way more mainstream. It needs to be way more accessible. People just want it to be easier. And right now it's still too freaking difficult for most people to follow such a radical different diet. But it's not so radical, but it's very you have to be way more precise. And so if somebody could facilitate the places where when they go to shop there, they can't make a mistake. It's like it's like an opportunity to create places where people can go to shop where they can't buy the wrong things, go to a places to eat where whatever they eat, none of it is going to cause any inflammation or trigger any immuno response. Be able to purchase some pre-packaged food and know that it's the optimal health, and that it's definitely not going to trigger any kind of, it's not going to trigger the regular insulin response. It's not going to trigger their fat storage to kick in. It's not going to cause their diabetes, there's not going to trigger any diabetes. It's not going to contribute to them increasing their arthritis or heart disease, something where it's all of those things that they could just go and they could just trust. They don't have to think about it. They just, whatever looks good to them and they like to taste, then they have it. And then it suddenly their life becomes, the whole process of having a healthy eating lifestyle suddenly becomes so much freaking easier. And I believe that that's the only way to actually change the course of the country. So somebody's got to do that. And that's the visions that I've got while standing at Target in the milk and frozen food section. And it just all came to me. And like I said, I definitely truly believe that it was due to being in this state that I'm currently in, that led to me receiving those visions. And it made, and at the same time, it was it's so exciting, so overwhelming and exciting at the same time. And yet and yet it was so possible, and it felt necessary. It's feels like it's so necessary. You know, in the same way, like Elon Musk is like, we have to get to sustainable energy now. Like on that same level, I'm like, we have to get, we have to get to an actual healthy eating lifestyle that actually deals with the true source and true cause of all this disease and inflammation. And we have to start doing that now, because it's insane. Like the whole healthcare industry, like everything is just going to go freaking under, it's like they can't handle the weight of all of these people sick, pun intended, because they're so fat, most of them, and so it's like, I just have a vision of like this country, where suddenly, instead of the obesity rate continuing to increase, it's going to stop increasing, and then we're going to start bringing it down and bring it down back to 1950s levels of obesity, bring it down to under 10%. And I believe it's possible, it's going to take many years. It took us many, many years to get to this point. So obviously it's not going to overnight thing, but I believe that once people start changing and more people see other people changing in front of them, say, what did you do differently? And they're like, well, I just started eating at this place. I just started just buying this food. I just started, getting some health coach, this certified health coach that kind of kept me on track with this. And then I made some adjustments, and then bam, all the weight fell off, and then of course with all the social media, as much as it took so long for everything to get as bad as it did now, I believe it could get resolved in a fraction of that time, because we're so much more connected now, because we have all the social media, because all the technology, the information travels so fast, things can grow at a much more exponential rate these days, that, I believe within a decade, we could turn it all around, so that would be, that's what I want to dedicate my life to, the next 10 years, devote to creating something huge. And I'll definitely share it, on this channel, because this is all, back to, bouncing back from setbacks, from, being in the hole. I have other things that I'm dealing with as well, just like recovering financially, from a previous divorce. And so I, why I did this fast, I said to heal this broken bones, but truly it was really about building a new foundation for myself. And, and I realized foundation, your health is your first foundation. Your body is your number one asset. And you got to get that right. If you're going to do something huge in life, you're going to build something great. I realized, as much as I wanted to jump ahead and start doing the next thing, I was like, you know what? I need to fully devote all my energy and resources on getting this right, getting this shored up. Like, I need to, if I'm going to make this super high performing other giant business, I need to first get this body super high performing, so that, so I'm in alignment, there's an alignment. There's not a disconnect, there's not a cognitive dissonance where I'm like, I'm trying to make this high performing thing, but I can't even have my own body high performing. What's wrong there? I didn't want to have that conflict moving forward. And besides, it's like, when you're high performing body, now I have a much higher chance that I can actually perform at these much higher levels, have much higher energy, and then my presence, it's like when you're fit, when you're super fit and healthy and people see it and know it, it's like there's a different aura, about you, because it's just like, damn, this person has got it together. And then of course that aids in, being even more successful in the business, because it's like people see that more and trust you more, and believe in you more, because it's just like, damn, it's like, this guy is like, he's good, kind of thing. So yeah, so that's why I'm just like, I got to get my foundation down, get that locked in. And so I've got this new vision. So this vision, I'm having it holding out in front of me right now, keeping me motivated, keeping me going, keeping me wanting to keep going on this fast. So I just get to my goal, get to fully just cut all the fat, get rid of all the fat. I want to get down to under 10% body fat. Get it down there. I need to get down to that level. I need to get rid of all the abdominal fat, chest fat. I got to get rid of all of it, and so, like I said, maybe it will take till 40 days. I might go for a 40-day fast. 5 more days feels like no sweat at this point. So I'm like, well, 5 more days, no sweat. I don't see why. What's another 10 days after that? It's just like, I totally believe I can pull off 40 days at this stage. I've been maintaining my electrolyte levels, so maintaining a regular dosage of electrolytes. So not worried about any electrolyte deficiencies. And everything else, I think, good, feeling great, thinking sharper than ever, tons of energy, especially if I get enough sleep. Definitely gotta get a little earlier, it was after 2 a.m. again that I went to sleep. So that was a little late. Try to get to bed by, 12:30, 1 a.m. I'm gonna make 1 a.m. my new cutoff. I think as long as I get to bed by 1, turn the lights off, phone off by 1 a.m., then I seem to get enough sleep. It's once I go to 2 a.m. plus, that's when I feel a little off the next day. So I think that's my sweet spot for me now, is 1 a.m. Yeah, so damn, I thought this was going to be a shorter video, and it ended up being a longer video again. So yeah, and then I guess then I ended my day with I worked for many hours, worked for several hours, switching out advertising murals all throughout San Francisco. And then after my last round, I went over, visited with my mom, and we watched our favorite show, The Prophet, with Marcus Lemonis. So I love that guy. I just love that show, because I just wow, I totally love going in and just fixing businesses and working with those little problems, and solving all those little problems. And I realized, man, I love doing that kind of stuff. So I can see bringing those components that I see in that show, and bringing it to whatever this vision that I have. And so that was part of the vision, and and even partner with Marcus on some level, to as in the journey of creating this bigger operation. I think he could be. I know that he would totally be on board with it. I think it would be really exciting. And then also Tillman Fertitta. I think that's another guy that I would love to partner with in pursuing this, since he already has so much expertise in the restaurant business, and maybe partner with him to help co-create some new chain of restaurants, that are lectin free restaurant. It should be freaking revolutionary. And it'd be very, very daring, I would say, to say the least, because it would, there's a lot of components to this thing, but I just all of it, I'm excited. So, and again, I will be documenting on this channel my, besides doing the water fasting, I will continue documenting my other learning experiences and challenges and things along the way as I create, and, bouncing back from my previous mistakes and setbacks and shortcomings, and disasters in my life, and share my experience and knowledge that I learn along the way, so that you can use some of that for yourself. And and there's also going to be, I'm definitely also going to be doing some more interviews as well, of people that are really make a big difference for me, in other areas, like financial, like rebuilding your credit, and then also in my journey of just building up what I'm going to be doing next. So I'll definitely be sharing it on this channel, and yeah, so I think it's gonna be exciting. So, but for the time being, I will just be focused on doing this water fast. So, all right, till the next one.